ba? Is that what you
No,
did?
I just have two clean phones because my other phones are like compromised TikToks and all of that, so I cannot put my Twitter details there. So on YouTube and Facebook page.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
pretty
Okay.
pretty big. Okay,
Shit.
don't worry. The finance
Sige.
version will be everywhere, so don't worry about it on different platforms. Okay, let's go live. All right. Oops, recording this computer. All right, everyone, welcome to the numero uno political podcast in the country. And of course, we're very happy now. We're now more or less regular in the top 100 Spotify podcast, among others. And we're, of course, with one of the top notch guys in the country when it comes to any discussions on lifestyle, Bitcoin, medyo ADHD all over the place. But obviously, the context of our collaboration and friendship is, the emergence of this guest of ours as one of the no nonsense voices in last year's elections. And I'm sure he was perhaps as surprised by the positive reception as anyone else. It looks like there is an appetite for that kind of no nonsense discussion. Thank you very much, Chris Stan, for joining us.
Hey, Richard, kumusta? And kumusta to all your viewers and all your followers. Yeah, Richard, actually, I've been following your posts and your interviews on CNN about politics and everything. You're one of the sane voices that I've heard in this space. So it's an honor to be a part of this podcast, man.
Thank you very much, bro. I mean, I appreciate people like you also doing what you're doing. So let's not overdo this bromance. Baka mamarites tayo. I think there was a lot of creepy responses to yung pinost natin, yung mga picture natin. So, parati ako napapahamak. Okay, let's go right into it. Chris Tan, of course, many of your followers know you for your no-nonsense interventions during last year's elections. And, I mean, correct the perception. Like there was a perception that perhaps of course you love the country and all, but perhaps it looks like the pink side was a little bit closer to your idea of a sane politics than the alternatives, like, if I could put it that way. So first, Kristan. Who is Kristan? Medyo Tito Boy Abunda style. Who is
No,
Kristan?
so really, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. Tapos this vlog was something that I just wanted to do because siguro for the longest time I knew naman that marunong ako mag-communicate. I can communicate ideas very well,
Right.
and then I wanted to be able to help people. It started with me being a life coach. Tapos I was spewing out advice on YouTube. And one of the things that I do is a thought bubble. I talk about
Right.
politics, current events, societal issues. And one day, I decided to speak in Tagalog. Doon nag-umpisa lahat. Doon ko na-realize na, wow. So, and what was ironic was, kahit na nagtatagalog ako, maraming mga nanonood sa akin from different countries like the United
Right.
States, mga Pinoys in Dubai, in Singapore, in Europe. And it was so fascinating. Na when I spoke Tagalog, the more I connected with people. Kaya that's where it all started. Now, politics-wise, people think, like you mentioned, that I'm pink or dilawan. What they don't know is I didn't vote for Pinoy. Actually, didn't like Pinoy. But I do appreciate what he's done for the country. And then when the election time came along, I had very strong opinions kasi towards the candidates. And binis ko lang talaga yan on which candidate I thought was the best in
Right.
terms of a criteria. And yun. Tapos, it's interesting lang kasi, I think people will perceive you or me or anyone according to their own biases.
Right.
Yan may bias ka talaga eh. You're gonna see things through your own lens. And people saw what they wanted to see in the message I was trying to deliver. I do believe Leni is the best candidate. But one thing that people were surprised is nung tinanong ako what I thought would happen if BBM won, I actually didn't paint a doom and gloom picture. I actually even said na, and I didn't post it until after he won because I didn't want anyone to parang siguro maybe switch or anything. But I did say it na I don't think BBM was going to be as bad as his father. I
Right.
think BBM is not. I think he's just a spoiled brat na who just want. It's an ego thing. Being president is an ego thing for him, and that's it. And so, what happened? Oh, there. Yeah.
Yeah, you were
So,
saying.
sorry, okay na, no? So anyway, so after that, tuloy-tuloy na. And suddenly people were just following me and I was like, wow. And they just wanted to hear my take on different topics, whether politics or showbiz or whatever it may be. And that's how it all started.
Wait. Speaking of, we'll go to the entrepreneur part when we'll do the podcast episode on Bitcoin, maybe. Because this is at the cutting edge of entrepreneurship these days.
Oh, yeah.
But let's talk about showbiz. If I'm not mistaken, like if you go to YouTube and put Kristan, things pop up from 9 years ago. Yung mga umagang kay ganda, yung mga ganun. What
Yep.
was that a reality show? I'm sorry, I don't want to bring back who got memories and all, but let's do it.
Yeah.
Was that a dating reality show you were part of? Before we go to the
Yeah.
Chinoy episodes, yeah.
So for 15 years, I was actually a producer of TV shows. A lot of people don't know that. I produced TV shows on different networks like ABC5 pa nung time na yun, hindi pa nga TV5.
Right.
MTV, Studio 23, GMA. So I did a lot of TV shows for a lot of different networks. Tapos noon in 2015, I decided na parang, why not go in front of the camera naman? So, ayun. So I got it. One day, I got a call. Sabi lang, would you be interested in going on a reality show with my girlfriend that time? And sabi ko, yeah, why not? It's a good experience. It's something I wanted to experience as well. So I tried it out. Okay naman. And then after that, they just started inviting me for all these different shows.
Wait, Chris, sorry. What was this show again? I mean, if you could refresh
It's
our
called I
memory.
Do.
Okay. So can you give us an idea? What was the concept? What was the idea behind it?
So the concept of the show was they got these couples, parang 8 of us, I think, or 9, who wanted to get married.
Oh.
Tapos the
okay.
winner will get the wedding of their dreams, 1 million pesos, a house and lot, a business, all the works, shebang, and the lights and all the glamour in it. Yeah, so that's what happened. And then when I was at the finals na, ako yung nag-back out.
No, wait, because you thought you might win it?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, wow.
Probably would have won it. And I realized I didn't want to get married that time. So, ayun.
I mean, of course, I'm not sure, like, there's a way around it, right? Like, you get the prize and then, like, you find a quack lawyer to sign some notary. I don't know. I'm sure there's a way. We can be entrepreneurial about it. Sorry, the Ilocano in me is just wondering sayang yung prize.
Well, I never really did it kasi for the price. It was really because I just wanted, I wanted to get married and I wanted to do it in the most unique way possible. So I thought, this would be a good way. And then, but in yung sa, siguro mga 1 month ata kami naka-lock in, Yung 1 month na yon, para kang nag-couples weekend, pero 1 month. Then you realize na
nagkakaalaman na. Yeah.
Oo, marami kami na-realize about ourselves and we just ended up as friends after that.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring out the hugot and all that. I just wanted a refresher. Was this also the time na sumisikat yung mga Chinoy? I mean, like the Korean K-pop and like this is around 10 years ago, right? Because I remember back in the day when I was a kid, it's more like mestizo, Mexicano, and then 10 years later, it's transitioning to mga chinito, and I saw that in my own lifetime, yung preferences and all shit. So I'm just saying, like, probably a part of you as a producer felt, hey, maybe there's a niche for me, right? Like, to make it big, yeah.
Well, I never really looked at it na parang kung ano ba yung flavor of the year or the month. Kasi hindi ko talaga napansin ko na meron, pero hindi yun yung motivation for me. But it's, I'm not complaining. I think it's amazing that K-pop is doing so well,
right?
And that they're able to export the music and entertainment worldwide. It's fantastic what it can do for Asians. I'm so impressed with what they did, and swerte na lang ako. I guess na mukha akong chinito ako, so I can pass as Korean, Japanese, Chinese, whatever. So yun.
No, I mean, the reason I'm asking this, I mean, we'll go into this more in the next episode when we talk about your experience as a Chinoy in this very, charged moment. But, that's, I'm just saying, things are, I mean, as an Asian, I can pass off as a Mexican, but as an Asian, like, I feel finally the Asian men are getting the kind of, appreciation perhaps they deserve. Because we grow up, with all these blonde, blue-eyed men and all of that as the matinee idol. And like, and they're like, low quality copycats, you know. And I just felt that's something. But we can go to that later, and perhaps in the next episode. Medyo, I mean, my goodness, I don't want to use the term interracial discussions, but let's stick to this. Okay, so ano yung pinakaunang episode na biglang boom, nakita mo grabe yung response at talagang ano yun, parang meron kang instinctive moment na ay kailangan ko mag-Tagalog para maka-reach out sa mga tao. And your Tagalog is less konyo than mine. Ako, nakikita ng tao, I'm still trying to reach out, but my Ilocano is better than my Tagalog accent-wise. But can you tell me about what was that first blog na went boom and then your whole political blogger career started? If I can put it that way,
yung, first vlog ko na talagang pumotok was the one where sinabi ko, parang I described kung paano pumili ng kandidato for president, kung ano dapat yung tama. And then I gave the criteria kung ano ba yung hinahanap natin lahat for president to make a good president. And then, tuloy-tuloy, at the end of it, I was eliminating all the candidates. And then at the end, sinabi ko, and then it's the title pala was, I'm not voting for Leni Robredo.
Was that a clickbait? Knowing that many of your followers could be pro-Leni or something, yeah?
So, I didn't do it as a clickbait. I did it more because I was trying to make a point na hindi ko binoboto si Leni because she's Leni. I'm voting for her because of the qualifications I was looking for a president. As a matter of fact, I even made a disclaimer na originally I didn't like Leni. I remember yung first time ko nakita yung post na nagpicture na magbo-bush siya papuntang Naga. And I was like, I don't know, it looks so staged to me. I don't know, there's something
I know what you're saying.
Parang cringy yung dating niya sa akin. Pero nung then I got to know her better and then I listened to yung mga sinasabi niya and I was like, no, this girl's making sense, sabi ko. Plus, kung tinignan mo yung field of candidates naman, alam mo, everyone had their strengths eh. Manny Pacquiao, his heart.
Yeah, Lacson, his experience.
Lacson, experience.
Yeah, Isko did a lot sa Manila in the short time that he had.
Yeah.
Let's give it to them, right?
So I didn't really have anything against any of the candidates. It was just more of a, tignan natin anong meron nila and then process of elimination. And then at the end of it, sabi ko, if you look at it, the complete package was Leni. The irony was this, I think why it went viral. I think the title, alam mo kasi it's ironic that a lot of people don't read or don't watch the whole video anymore. They look at the headline and then they'll start sharing it based on the headline. So apparently what happened was a lot of the supporters of BBM were sharing my video.
Sabi ko nga, clickbait yan eh. Unintentional clickbait.
Diba? Trojan horse. People were watching it and then napapabura yung mga supporters ni BBM sa akin. So I got a lot of bashers. And my own video, I did not get as many views on my own video as the people that shared it.
Correct. Yeah.
Yung TikTok, nakita ko may dalawang account doon that posted it. Each of them got at least 10 million to 15 million. And I was like,
yeah,
wow.
Business was good.
Yeah, and I didn't even post it on my
TikTok.
I know. Eventually, I went to TikTok after mga 3 or 4 months. Pumasok na ako ng TikTok. So that's how it all started. And it was weird. When I woke up and I was looking on my phone was off the hook. It was just bang, notification. Ngayon naka-silent na lang ako palagi. There's no more point in putting the notification on kasi otherwise we'll never get anything done.
Yeah, I mean, the geniuses, the PhD in in computer science and physics, all of them are working on ways up to hack our mind, right? So like, take out the notification. For me, because I honestly see social media as an outlet, not inlet, right? Like, it's for me to get the message out, and then I don't want to do anything with this world. Like, you cut it out, right? So that's why I can manage it, calibrate it. Not to mention you need digital Sabbath or actual Sabbath. Now let's go back to this. I mean, obviously in my case, I was very apolitical in the sense I was always more concerned about international affairs, global affairs. Those are the things that excited me when I was as young as like 5-6 year old. I was talking about Iraq war, etc. So that was really how I grew up. So I always felt about Philippine politics like, oh my goodness, mga dynasties, mga ganun. It's like juvenile, puerile, Like, it gives a bad name to democracy. And sometimes I felt it's like a hopeless case. And then Pinoy came and I felt, okay, something interesting could come here, although I was half skeptical, half hopeful with Pinoy. And I think his record more or less was mixed, but on the better side of the mix than most of the other leaders. But, I remember very well 2015. The first time I saw Duterte kind of flirting with the idea of presidency, this is like August, July pa lang. And we had a show on Tito Boy, Abunda, Lisandro Claudio, Nicole Corato. All of us were there. And I said, he's a dark horse. Because I always felt there's something in him that can click with millions of people who are just so fed up with traditional nonsense politics. And it's because I studied other countries. It happened in Turkey. It happened just now in Argentina with a crazy Elvis Presley looking guy. It happened with with all around India, Narendra Modi, Indonesia. I was there when Jokowi was coming. So I always felt, yun ang problema sa atin sa mga Pilipino. We think we're too exceptional when in fact, maraming meron sa atin na third world. Meron sa ibang third world countries na nakikita ko. For Argentina, Turkey, India. So I just felt, this guy has a chance. And I just felt many people are too dismissive about him. So that's where I began to become like, wait lang. This guy, if he wins, he's gonna change everything. The first interview I watched of him was with Maria Ressa. Right? Like, our Rappler friends did a lot too, to get him into the... So, and the first big event he had was this, something like yung my president something event sa De La Salle. I used to teach in De La Salle back in the day. So Maria Ressa was the host, and then ang nagpakita lang si Digong and si Cayetano. And I look at this guy, I said, my gosh, he has what it takes to really exploit etong cynicism and lack of faith and disillusionment. And this is after the Laglag Bala crisis. This is after Mama Sapano. Like, everything goes going. And to a degree, I felt baka conspiracy theory pa yan. And then, alam yung traffic during Apex Summit. Talagang so, parang I felt this is the right time for this guy. So, as early as 2015, I was saying, hey, watch out for this guy. And by January, February, I was convinced he could really win once Binay went down. Now, I've written extensively on all these issues, including the book Rise of Duterte. But my point is, that's where I also discovered something about myself, that actually I care, right? Actually, when I fear there's a fundamental threat to our way of lives or whatever little freedoms we have, I'm someone who cares. And at the same time, of course, I'm not cancel culture type in the case that many of people close to me voted for Duterte. So I don't think that they're bad people. I just felt maybe they didn't choose the best guy, but I understood where they come from. The grievances, the hurt, and all of that. And the next 6 years is really the story of my career. So both on West Philippine Sea and both on democracy issue, I tried to push back against this guy. So by the time the 2022 elections came, and I was realizing like, my goodness, after Duterte, it's gonna be Marcos most likely, right? Like, oh, this is crazy. So I said, the least I can do is to go vlogging and to reach out and, kalog and, make, you probably saw me on CNN International with Amanpour, Farid Zakar, like that Richard Haydaran, right? It's like, okay, that Richard Haydaran has his place there, but is useless more or less there. So let's do something. So that was the context within which Chris, essentially I became this podcaster, right? I had to set up this whole thing and essentially double in, so in your case, what was the thought process? So I gave you a very 5 minutes overview of my thought process, how I became obsessed almost about Philippine politics. I've written 2,000 articles probably on Philippine politics. The very topic I was completely disinterested in just 7, 8, 9 years ago, I would say, right? I was very interested in West Philippine Sea, foreign policy issues, but domestic politics was always something that I found in the Philippines a little bit too disheartening, disillusioned. What is your thought process to okay, I do Bitcoin, I do all of these things, I'm a motivation coach, but hey, this is crazy. Like, I have to say something about this.
So actually, yung pagpasok ko sa Bitcoin is very related to politics. It's very related to governments. It's almost my antithesis to the government. Bitcoin is all
libertarian.
About financial. Yeah, it is. It's financial freedom. It's being a sovereign citizen. It's not allowing yourself to be limited to the laws of one country. And it's a big FU to the government if you really think about it. And I can talk about that a little bit later. No? Pero for now, yung pagpasok ko sa politics is something I've always been interested in. I've always been interested in history, in politics. Even nung panahon ni Chinoy, I would debate with people. Then when Duterte came along, ganun din, I would debate. I was the type that I would not back away from commenting and replying to every single troll and basher out there. And even my friends If they debate with me, I don't mind. I don't get upset with debates. I love debates. And when I debate with people, I don't debate to win. I debate to understand. Yun yung pagkakaiba sa tingin ko with people when they debate with me. They think I'm debating para makalamang eh. Hindi, I'm debating so that we can both understand ano ba yung parang common ground natin and where is that middle ground where we can have an understanding. And ang pinaka siguro trigger for me that made me want to talk more about politics was really the rise of this authoritarian government and people like Duterte, who was practically the guys. I don't know. I think he's clinically insane. To be honest with you, I think he's a psychopath.
Ayan na. That was the selling point. Chris, just to be clear, I was contractually obliged not to say something like that. but I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, right? Like, yeah, go ahead. So you felt you have to say it. Call a spade, like go no nonsense.
And, I know when I say that, I'm not trying to insult anyone.
Yeah.
For me, kasi when a person is glib about talking about raping somebody, sexual assault, about killing people, wow, you look into a person's eyes, you can tell if somebody is a murderer, a serial killer. You look into their eyes, you can see their soul or the lack of it. This guy does not have a soul. But I do believe he believes that he is doing what he's doing is good. I do believe that the people supporting him believe that what they're doing is good. And it is insane lang that I see so many people that are mesmerized with this idea na okay lang pumatay kasi masama naman silang lahat. Pero hindi naman natin talaga alam kung masama. Kaya nga may batas tayo, di ba? So, people would say, why do I hate him so much? I don't hate him. Actually, that's the funny part is I don't hate him. You can put any name there. Anyone who murders people and brags about it is not on my good list. It's not a person, it's the idea of it. And what's more fascinating and saddening in this world now is marami sa mga tao ngayon ang hindi na marunong mag-isip ng tama. And that's what's giving rise to authoritarianism.
Critical thinking.
Even in the United States.
Oh yeah, of course. He's coming back. Trump is coming back. Yeah, it's almost more than 50% chance. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably will win, and he will avenge his last loss and the whatever anyone did to him. And it's going to be insane what's going to happen to the world if Trump wins. And for me, this is the problem with yung sa mga tao ngayon. They're not wala nang critical thinking. It's gone. So my hope in what I do is that I can somehow instill critical thinking back in people's way of in their mindset and how they look at things. Number one, critical thinking and also self-awareness. Wala na eh. There's no such thing as self-awareness anymore. People are just zombies now, walking on this earth. And they speak as if they believe something, but in reality, it's a borrowed belief. Because they can never defend what they believe in. That's why it's a borrowed belief. And that's the sad part about this society. And if I can change one person's mind by the vlogs I do, kahit na isa lang every day, then I've done my job. And that's why I do it. And that is really my motivation for doing these vlogs.
I mean, for me, my understanding there is that a lot of people are voting nowadays because they not necessarily because they want candidate A, but because they hate so much candidate B, C, and D. So you can call it negative solidarity. I would say, I mean, that's the thing. They gaslight you as hating Duterte, but actually a lot of people have voted for Duterte because they hate the other candidates. Now, the factual basis of that hate is very questionable. Like, for instance, blaming Aquinos for everything that went wrong in the country. Like, seriously, you forgot 10 years of Arroyo almost, right? Who's an ally of the Dutertes. You forgot Erap Estrada. And by the way, Ramos was a cousin of Marcos and helped Marcos throughout until, he turned against the guy. So and you can make a situational argument that Corazon Aquino was there to clean up the mess of Marcos Sr. with some success, and Aquino was there to clean up the mess of both Erap and Arroyo. And both of them were half successful at best. But to blame them for everything that went wrong, I think that's really the problem. So clearly, this is where the issue of disinformation, lack of critical thinking is coming in. for you, is it social media? I mean, what do you think is contributing to that? Is it overflow of nonsensical information? Are we like drowning in garbage? Is that your concern right now?
So what happened is, so when social media came about, right, parang Facebook started in 2008, so it started to really proliferate about 2012, 2014, and then 2015
Yeah.
is when it really took off to that
Yeah.
next level. And it democratized information. It democratized media. Now, when it's democratized, that means information now is not there's no vanguard to information. There are no how
Gatekeepers,
ABS,
guardrails. Yeah, exactly.
right, there, yeah, di ba? ABS, Rappler. Ngayon, information is a free for all. The problem is, nobody taught people how to discern information. Kasi we're so used to information
Yeah.
being vetted for us. Ito na ang tamang informasyon according to what the newspaper says. And sometimes not even real. And then with the democratization of information, but without teaching us how to discern right information and wrong, and this is where fake news happened. The time of Duterte with Cambridge Analytica, they knew that there was an opportunity to take advantage of people, and they did. Duterte was the first trial before Trump.
Ground zero. Yeah.
Yeah, Duterte was ground zero for Cambridge Analytica, and they said, wow, it works. And then Trump used the same strategy, and he won. And then all the other people are now using that same strategy. And then now we're just seeing it now. 6-7 years later, do we realize na, teka, we really have to fight fake news. We can't just be silent. Because do you remember nung panahon ni Duterte, noong 2015, 2016, when people were debating, we tuned out. I have a lot of friends that said, ayoko na mag-social media, it's a lot of garbage.
Yeah, it's too toxic. Yeah.
Right, and they just shut up. Rather than speak out, they shut up because it was too stressful. Now, the difference now is because we know there's fake news, I encourage everyone to speak out.
Yeah.
To combat fake news, to call out a troll, to call out people that are spewing BS and lies. And that's needed. That counter is needed. So, when I got on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, you know what I noticed on TikTok especially, and you know this, I remember when I got on, I was like, oh my God, nagulat ako how much fake news was on TikTok. It was insane. It was like a different reality.
Cesspool, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And even the comments. Oh my God, it's the bottom of the, it's the bottom feeders. It's the worst. And I said, my God, I need to be on this network, this social media, because there's nobody else speaking out to counter all this BS on TikTok. So, and oh my God, then TikTok, if you look at all my comments, they're all hate. Because people that would support are afraid to speak out, because if you support, you will get the trolls and the bashers all coming in to make you feel so bad and attack you that to just silence you.
Yeah, I mean, I call that poisoning the well strategy. I call that the poisoning the well strategy, right? They don't even need to win over or expose us as ridiculous, meaning people of reason or facts. They just all they need to do is to demobilize people, to make them so they want people to be allergic to even conversation, right? And the thing is this, but this is where I'm a little bit self-critical. I think the problem also is a lot of people, especially those who had platforms, columnists for newspapers like yours truly, people who are in the media, etc. I think a lot of us, our mistake was we didn't engage social media because we felt, oh, that's not our level. We're this level, right? I'm not gonna go down to their level. And I remember until today, I always see like, Richard, bakit mo dinebate si Banat Bay or si Sasot or whatever? Hindi mo sila ka-level and gano'n. And I said, that's exactly the problem. That mindset that we're better than everyone else, we should not engage them. And that's how we left the field to the enemy. Not to mention, I got bashed a lot for engaging these people or supposedly platforming them. But for me, that's the loser mindset. That's the snowflake mindset. Let them talk and then shut down the nonsense. Not let them talk and then let them get away with fake news. No. Let them talk and then shut it down. And yun ang hindi nakikita ng taos. But that's the thing, Chris. You need to have cojones, right, to do this. You need a certain degree of audacity and strength of character and conviction. I mean, I did martial arts. I do yoga. I do all of these things to literally to be physically able to take all of this nonsense and attacks and death threats throughout the 6-7 years or so. In your case, what is your routine? I mean, you seem to be in a health buff kind of a fitness person, motivational coach. I mean, did that help you? Because yun nga, like I know you're saying dapat mas nag-engage tayo, pero medyo kailangan mo rin ng kapal ng mukha, di ba? and
Yeah, I
audacity
did.
and strength of character.
Alam mo siguro, no, the reason ako masyado naman talaga na-affect ng mga bashers is because uh, meron akong paniniwala talaga that people are entitled to their opinion.
Right.
And I really believe that I have no need to change your narrative of me or anything else. If you be like in your mind, I am the enemy, that's your mind and that's your life. Who am I to control your narrative or the
Right.
movie in your mind? That's not my business, di ba? It's not, I have no need to do that. So when I was able to let go of that need, then I had a lot more respect for people's opinion. So when people have a different opinion, I just accept it as their opinion. As much as this is my opinion, that's theirs. And when I speak, I'm not trying to convince anyone to change their mind. I'm just speaking to let people know this is my opinion. Ikaw bahala what you decide to do
Yeah.
with that opinion. And if that's why I don't mind debating with people, is because of that. And I remember I did this vlog and I met this kid that's a BBM supporter, 21 year old na student. Sabi ko, okay lang ba sa'yo if we do a conversation? And sabi niya, okay lang. Sabi ko, kasi bihira ako makahanap ng BBM supporter that's willing to talk to me. He goes, yeah, okay. So we were talking. And when I was talking to him, I'm not combative normally in a conversation,
Yeah.
actually. So I was just listening to him. And at the end of it, nakikita mo, he started to doubt himself. And he couldn't even reason out why he was voting for BBM. And man, and then suddenly I found out he was INC, and then the INC, some of the leaders there wanted to talk to me. I'm like, whoa, and they wanted to debate with me.
Oh wow,
Ako,
that escalated fast, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing was for me, people were remixing my video, challenging my perspective. I don't mind. I go do that. People were calling me stupid. I remember there's this very I forget who it was, yung mga sikat na vloggers, marami yan eh. Marami sikat na vloggers si Duterte at saka si BBM eh. So one of them said, talaga to si Chris, he was talking about inflation, he doesn't know what he's talking about. The US has high inflation. They borrow a lot of money. The GDP ratio is high, blah blah blah. And it's okay. And I was like,
Ayan tayo.
so
Ayan
somebody says na that's a logical fallacy eh.
Yeah.
It's correct because everyone else is doing it.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
logical fallacy. That's not a way to argue a point. I was like, but I will not try to debate that. But if he or she wanted to debate with me, I'd be more than happy to. But there was a part of me that did
You
not
mean the
want to-
whataboutism, no? I mean the whole whataboutism. What about that? Bakit?
Yeah.
Like, the two wrongs don't make it right. Like that's a fallacy.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I hear logic like that, I was like, wow, there's no point in debating with them. And I did not want to amplify these people. Kaya I didn't want to debate. They can amplify me because they're posting my videos. Go. But I did not want to debate with them because I think a person that's smart will understand which point was right and wrong. And that's all. They just have to hear both sides and it's up to them to decide ano yung paniniwalaan nila.
But that's the point. Like you mentioned the importance of critical thinking. I think the other important C is compassion. I mean, why would we even bother to engage with some of our kababayan if we don't care about them, right? I mean, I know it might come off as patronizing, but it's only patronizing if you're there lecturing. If you're not there actually listening. I mean, I come from the north. I was born in Baguio, literally Marcos Highway almost. So you can imagine I'm surrounded with a lot of pro Marcos people. But I sit down there, we laugh, we make jokes, and then all of these inside jokes about Marcoses, etc. And then that's where you can have a conversation. Because if you come in and say, oh, gusto niya sa madanakaw, mga matay-taga, well, nothing's gonna happen. And they're gonna go like that. And then tapos ng usapan. You mutually cancel. So I learned not easy, but I learned from my own experience that the last way to start is to cancel each other. No. It has to come with a position of compassion and even a certain degree of mutual respect. After all, hindi naman tanga just because bumoto ka sa maling candidate. I mean, all of us do stupid things in life. And politics is not about IQ. It's about discernment. It's about judgment. It's about wisdom, for that matter.
Yeah, I wanted to add, that I never thought that anyone who voted for BBM or Duterte was dumb.
Mm.
So that was the thing. So when I talk to them, I don't. That's why I think it comes across. It doesn't come across that way
Yeah.
because I don't really believe that. I think people that voted for Duterte truly believe that they were doing something good, or it was just born out of a massive frustration. And I understand that
Exactly, the
frustration. You felt
frustration.
that.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it was I even know exactly that frustration because nga nung panahon nga ni Pinoy kasi came across unempathic.
Yeah.
He was I remember the scene when I was so pissed when the Hong Kong tourists were on the bus, the hostage taker was there, and then the police came in and then started just shooting randomly and actually killed the tourists. It wasn't the hostage taker that killed them, it was the police because they were just shooting. And Pinoy on the mic on the press con, I remember that press con. He looked at the camera and he said with a smirk, he goes, "Shh, mas grabe nga naman yung sa Russia, mas marami namatay dun eh." I'm like,
So
wow.
nag-whataboutism din siya, yeah. Nag-whataboutism din
Yeah,
siya, yeah.
yeah. When he
Eh, the
said
same
that, I
on
was
Mama
like,
Sapano, di ba? The same on Mama Sapano. The concern was, he should have gone there and embraced the
yeah,
families, and I said something like, ayoko nang magdrama or something like that. I don't know how to.
yeah,
I had a conversation with the late president. This is just before pandemic, and essentially, I was telling him, the Philippines is not Germany; it's more like Italy, right? Because I heard from someone that mahilig siya sa German politics. I think yung idol niya is like Angela Merkel of Germany, that kind of rational,
oh,
reasonable,
yeah,
systematic leader, etc. So tuwan-tuwa siya sa German coalition politics. And I said, we are like Italy. We need a Berlusconi sometimes. You
right,
go, you hug people, you make fun, but do you also do your job, right? At the end of the day, we still have to
yeah,
build the Lamborghinis and Ferraris, right? So my point is, I think there was a lack of appreciation of the emotional moment of the emotional aspect of Philippine politics. Yeah. So I think that was the problem. His role model was not applicable to the Philippines. Perhaps if he were in Sweden or a country like that, even Marojas, I would say the same thing. Medyo kulang sa the empathy aspect. Just look at how
yeah.
Araneta Rojas was trying to come up as and yung Pajak. I mean, like with the Lacoste. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, like this, like how not to do presidential campaign? I don't know what on earth was going on there. Like from Pinoy to Mar Rojas, like really something was going on.
Yeah, there was a disconnect. They were not connecting with the people. Pero you know what? I'll tell you what's interesting. The very reason why Pinoy won is the same reason why Duterte won. Think about that, yung that statement. It's the people never vote logically. They always vote emotionally and they justify it logically. Kasi pag tinignan mo, nung tumakbo si Pinoy, he didn't have the credentials eh. He didn't have the credentials. He was a lackluster congressman. I
And
believe he
senator,
never,
and senator,
yeah, and a senator
reluctant
with,
senator, yeah.
yeah, it was he was practically absent. Didn't really get a lot of bills passed. He didn't. He was a C student. Wala talaga. The only reason he won was the emotional side. The mother died, and everyone's like, okay, let's push him. So it's that same
Right.
lack of reasoning that may propelled Pinoy to win is the same reasoning or lack of it that propelled Duterte to win. And it was an outpouring of emotion. And people will justify that emotion. And I remember I would speak to my friends who were in Victory. I remember I had a friend who was in Victory na negosyante. And he was supporting Duterte. And I said to him, you're Christian, right? You agree with the killing? He goes, well, sabi niya, well, no, pero kung masama naman sila, why not? And I'm like, well, you should just denounce your
Well,
religion.
Old Testament siguro sila. You can
Oh,
go
yeah,
Leviticus
sure.
and justify any kind of violence. I mean, we see. I mean, Jericho. You look at what was done to Jericho. Even the oxens were killed and massacred. I was just reading the verses the other day. Yeah, Battle of
Yeah.
Jericho. Yeah.
And here's the irony. The irony is this. At first, they were saying that no, it wasn't Duterte killing people. It was the drug lords killing each other.
Yeah.
And then eventually, now, pag tinignan mo yung mga bashers ngayon and trolls, it's so funny how they didn't realize. Now they're saying, oo, totoo, pumatay si Duterte. And then they'll say, sana sunod ka. And then they'll say, masama lahat yun. At least, tama yung ginagawa. And I'm like, wow, so you're actually admitting that you are supporting somebody who you know or you believe actually kills people, and you're okay with it. When 5 years ago, when he was still a president, you were saying, no, 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 it wasn't him. Gonna. So there was this transition from denial to
Right.
acceptance to now actually even gloating and bragging about it. But they didn't realize they made that transition. That's the funny part. That by their comments, they're actually validating
Yeah, they're
why the
normalizing.
ICC
Yeah.
should come in here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, before we end, because I want to end on this episode on the very eloquent way you answered the rhetorical question I raised on who's the worst president in the Philippines. But before we just go to there, I mean, for me, um, there were a number of very good philosophical works, no, on the question of evil, and even controversial people like Jordan Peterson also said something like in every human being there's a dark side to it. I think it goes back to Solzhenitsyn, and because there are people who are against Duterte, they're against what Duterte did. But if you say, are you okay with the populist leader who goes and kills really corrupt leaders and drug lords? They'll say, maybe I'm okay with that, but just don't kill the poor innocent people. You know what I'm saying? Like there are levels to it. It's not like either or. Because I think that many people are so desperate that they want a better version of Duterte to kill the right people, if I can put it that way, which is of course a wrong way of putting it. Do you get what I'm saying, Chris?
Right.
Like, unfortunately, there's that kind of desperation to our politics because our judicial institutions have really not been delivering. Whatever administration you name me, we still have one of the highest pre-detainee trials, pre-trial detainees, sorry, one of the highest rates of miscarriages of justice, etc. So, my point is, it's not really an either or good or evil kind of situation. I think there are 50 shades of gray when it comes to that. But last point on this episode, before we transition to the next episode, and before I transition location, kasi may mga tao na dito. Wait. So, who's the worst president and who's the best president on your in your books? I mean, again, everything's relative, right? We're not saying
Yep.
in the universe. We're just saying not in the soul, but maybe in the Philippines. Who's the worst and who's the best and why? Gusto natin fast talk to. Who's the worst? Let's start with who's the best muna. You want? Are you ready for the best?
Wow.
Mas mahirap yan, no? Actually, best is
Mas mahirap yun eh.
mas mahirap
Let's start
yun eh.
with-
Let's start
with the
easy.
issue.
Okay, let's start easy. Who's the worst president in Philippine history for you?
So, for me talaga, I think Duterte was the worst president. Kasi, for so many reasons, economically, look what he did with the doubling our debt, over doubling our debt in his last 2 years, during the pandemic. And then not just that, people were dying from the pandemic, and yet he allowed his cronies formally to be able to siphon off all that aid that he borrowed and we're paying for. Today, our national debt is over 14 trillion because of Duterte. Tapos, yung pagka-corruption niya was gangster-level corruption. And he was bragging about it to everyone on top of the fact that he was killing everyone. You remember those vice mayors and mayors? May isa doon yung nagbabayang magiliw, ang mamatay man dahil sa'yo, boom, on the heart, dead.
Grabe,
And sure,
no?
let's say he was
Parang,
a drug lord.
yeah,
Let's say he
yeah.
was whatever. I mean, for me, there is due process, and nobody said anything nung pinatay yung isang drug lord sa kulungan na sinabing
Espinosa,
nanlaban
the
daw.
Espinosa, yeah, the Espinosa.
Si Espinosa,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because, he was a drug lord, right? Okay, I didn't say anything, to be honest with you. I was to be honest with you, I was a little bit like,
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, bro.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a degree, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
but there were a lot of people that were innocent that were getting killed and going to jail because they just criticized him. De Lima was a perfect example. A lot of people, and this is where Duterte started to believe he was a god, and that's where the problem. That's why I would believe that he was the worst, because of the psyche, the belief that he was above everyone and that he has the authority and right to kill anyone that he wanted, even today. Even when he's not a
So you think
president.
that the word F, as in fascist, is one way of looking at it? Do you think that's one way? Because there's some people who say he was fascist. I mean, the cult of personality, the death squads, the violence, the glorification of violence, the demeaning of reason discussion, like those all ticks the boxes. If you look at
Yeah,
it.
you're right.
Yeah.
Sure. I would call him a fascist. Sure. So that was the worst one. Now, Marcos, for me, came in second because
This is senior,
because-
right? Just to be clear, because
Senior,
junior,
yeah.
junior, we have to
Senior.
give him some chance. He still has, a
Yeah.
few years.
So senior comes in second to me because of how he inflated the economy. Oh my God, imagine mo yung national debt natin when he started in 1965
Yeah.
to the 1970s, it went from like a few hundred million to billions.
Yeah.
And for a president to take about between 5 to 10 billion dollars in the 1970s and 80s, by today's standard, that's still a lot of money. Imagine back then.
Yeah, inflation adjusted.
Yeah, that would be like 100 billion to
Yeah.
200 billion dollars. If you try to compute it to today's values,
Yeah.
it's an insane amount, and people went into poverty. Before he went into, before he became president, the world was, the Philippines was one of the most progressive Asian countries, and then when he came in, it just continually deteriorated. But people forgot that for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, people remember that he came on the tail end of the good days, which is when Asian Development Bank came in 1964-65. But that's actually the beginning of the end, right? And then,
but for some reason they think that it extended all the way to
yeah,
1986.
because few
It did
people
not.
care to read about Makapagal or read about
Yeah.
Magsaysay a little bit better, like Bear. So like all presidents before Marcos are kind of like hazy characters, except probably Aguinaldo or Manuel Quezon. So I think Marcos just Karened everyone out of our imagination. Parang siya yung Karen. Let's call it Kevin. I just thought about the male version of Karen as a Kevin. He Kevined
Right.
his way out of Ken and Barbie. He Kevined his way out. So if you say glory days, people think 1960s Marcos pa rin, 1950s no. He came when tapos na yung good times,
Yeah.
and the rest
Yep.
started. Yeah. And of course the human rights violations. Obviously, you want to mention
Oh.
that. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
yeah.
Adding that factor
Yeah.
in, that was, and the difference with Marcos was he was deliberate. But for me kasi, so yung tanong lang, ano ba yung mas masama? Yung deliberate o yung paniniwala na I am a God and I
Yeah.
can kill and I don't care about anyone or anything and I will do what I want. There's something eerily scary
Yeah.
about and evil about a person that believes that. That's why I put Duterte on the top. So Marcos comes in second, and then
What, Erap?
is third.
I could guess like, I think you're gonna say Erap number 3. Yeah.
Because, with Erap, alam mo yung kay Erap, alam mo naalala ko when he won, parang we were living in a gangland era where his kids were driving around with
Yeah.
their convoys, doing whatever the hell they want.
Mexican
And-
style, yeah.
And then Erap wasn't even working. He would go to work at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
He would gamble with his friends in the private, I know that private area here in San Juan that they would go to. And then it was just, he did not work. It was crazy. And
Hey,
then
work is for
suffering.
the weak. The weak work.
Yeah, diba? It's like he was just plundering the money. And of course, we know what happened after
Yeah.
that. Diba? When Chavez, knowing his ultimate demise, he was going to die, he was going to get killed, then spoke out against Erap, and then boom,
Might as well.
all the dirt came out.
Oh,
he's
okay.
on my
I don't
first-
want to talk too much about Erap na naman yan. Madidepress na tayo. Okay, so what are your top 3 best? Not in any order. Again, relative terms. Or the top 3 na lang.
so-
Isipin mo lang, top 3.
So the number 3, I would say would be, this is hard. 3, 2, 1 is actually hard, to be honest with you. Kasi,
Sige, don't
Well,
rank
you
it.
have-
Don't rank it. Like, what are the top 3 presidents in your mind? Is it like
Well-
Magsaysay, Manuel Quezon, Ramos,
wait,
Aquino?
are we
Yeah.
talking pre-EDSA or
No, I mean, if wala kang type dun sa mga iba, you can go all the way to Aguinaldo if you want. We're flexible on that. Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to go as far as Aguinaldo, pero at the same time kasi I don't have a comprehensive
Yeah,
view
you
of
understand
their
it. Yeah, exactly.
accomplishments as much as I do about the current presidents from 1986 onward. So if I were to do 1986 onward,
parang unfair.
I would say, wow. So, ito na lang yung top 3 ko I would go in no particular order, GMA, Ramos, Pinoy. And I'll tell you.
Kaya nga, I pushed it back to 50s kasi mapilitan kayo ipasok si GMA dyan.
No, I'm going to actually,
Yeah,
kasi you know
yeah.
what I know is ironic. I actually don't mind GMA. because of the fact that she did work hard. She woke up early. She fixed the economy along with Mar Rojas, the BPO industry,
Yeah,
because of
it's the two
GMA
of them.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the institutions and the things that you're seeing now is because of what GMA did during her time. Ramos naman during his time was able to create stability in the government, which was very much needed. And during his time was when Philippines was considered a tiger economy.
Yeah, yeah.
And even when they borrowed, the GDP grew commensurate.
Yeah.
It was
And dollar
it
was like 26
relative.
pesos, right? Dollar was 26 pesos. I remember during Ramos' time, Vision 2000. He was kind of like
Yeah.
Mahathir Lee Kuan Yew when he would go around the region, etc. Yeah, I mean,
And he was a
Arroyo,
statesman.
yeah,
He was a statesman. He
very
was very
smart
good.
people, both of them, Arroyo and Ramos. Although of course I would put Ramos way ahead.
Yeah.
And Pinoy, right? You're the other one, yeah. You think
So,
Pinoy
yeah,
would be
so
better than Ramos or Arroyo? Obviously.
Okay, so the reason I would say Pinoy did better,
Yeah.
because economically he was the one who had the most sound economic principles. Not because he was smart. He hired smart people. He inspired smart people to join the government, and that's what impressed me. That I did not see that was going to happen, and I was impressed that all the the technocrats that decide, people from private sector that joined the government of Pinoy because they wanted to genuinely help. I was so impressed that, remember, during Pinoy's time we had a budget surplus, and the national didn't go up. The national debt,
Yeah.
actually, I think it went down,
As a share
if
of
I remember
GDP.
correctly.
Yeah, as a share of GDP.
Yeah.
As a share of GDP.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing what he was able to do with the economy. The only flaw that he had was that he lacked empathy. He did not connect with people. But aside from that, what he did for the economy that progressed, what you see now with BGC and all of that, was because his government opened that all up. And it was also because of Arroyo coming in before that to lay the groundwork. Pinoy naman kept it to the next level, and all the foreign investments came on board with Pinoy's time.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's why I like him.
I mean, we can talk about the Mama Sapano, many failures here and there, like serious failures. I would say that that's why this is relative, guys. We didn't say he's the best president in the solar
Right.
system. We're just saying relative to other president, we can put him there at the best. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, and also for me, it's about the feel good signaling to the international community, right? I mean, look at things written about the Philippines during Aquino time. Philippines was increasingly respected countries and a respectable country. And for me, that mattered because I dealt with investors, Wall Street. I dealt with the international community.
Yeah.
We stood up to China. And that's going to be a next topic episode. Let's talk about China, West Philippine Sea, and being a Chinoy in this interesting times, if we can put it that way. Thank you very much, Chris, for joining us.
Thanks, Richard. I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. Sanay ka talaga sa bashing eh. Tuloy yung positive, nahirapan ka. Can you give me 5 minutes, bro? I'll just set up somewhere else.
Sure.
Yeah, lipat lang ako. 5 minutes lang. You can
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
break. Yeah, take a break, sure.
All right. Okay.
Wag kang exit. I'll just put it off camera. Yeah. Okay. Talk to you.
No
Talk.
problem.
Wait lang guys, lipat lang ako. Sorry po. Sorry po. Second guys, para sa bayan. Second. Just a second. Yeah, there we go, bro. Sorry, I just need to make lipat. One
No
second.
problem.
Yeah. Cause, okay, let's go to the.
Oh, wait lang, hold on. Let me get.
No
Sorry.
problem. No problem. Yeah. Let's do this. Para sa bayan.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's get the ball rolling. All right, everyone, welcome back to our next episode. Welcome back to our... No, this... Ulitin ko nga ito, sumablay tuloy. Ay. Welcome back to our next episode. That was quite quantum physics yun. All right, everyone, welcome back dito sa discussion natin with Chris Tan. In a previous episode, we discussed about who are the best and worst in his books, and he had kind of a hard time in ranking the best, but in the worst, he was very sure about the ranking. So I don't know, that tells us something about the nature of our politics. But now let's talk about again something probably also personal to you, because as a Chinoy, as a proud Chinoy, as a patriotic Filipino, as someone who's very outspoken, who cares about the country clearly, as someone who speaks even better Tagalog than me, not that that's a high bar. Hindi, ang tanong ko dito is, how does it feel to be Chinoy nowadays? This is always where, because I have a lot of Chinoy friends. I mean, my first friends in Baguio back in the day were Chinoys. I mean, my first, girlfriend was a Chinoy. I mean, so I always talk to them about, do they feel they're like, between a rock and a hard place? There's the Communist Party of China there, and then there's xenophobia and all of that there. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Chris? Kamusta ang pagiging Chinoy nowadays?
Alam mo, no, sa akin, when I grew up talaga, I never really looked at myself as any different than anyone else when it comes to ethnicity. I've always believed, and I've looked at myself as a Filipino. So, yung pagka-Chinese ko I've always looked at it as part of being Filipino. Because if you look at naman Filipino culture culture is a mix of a lot of different cultures. We get a lot of our American influences, Spanish influences, and Chinese influences. And not just that, I bet you, siguro over 50% of the entire Philippine population may halo.
Yeah.
May konting Chinese, may konting Spanish, may konting iba't ibang races. And then that's why if you look at Filipinos, we all look different. So it's just degrees of which, how much Chinese blood do you have, or how much Spanish blood do you have? Ikaw, do you have like, what are you,
So,
Spanish?
so that's the point, about the pure blood, yung purong dugo is complete nonsense, right? I mean, that's proven. Anyone can take a DNA test today that will prove you there's no such thing as a purong dugo, right? You go to any random country, that there were 10 different tribes and all that came in. So yeah, I think definitely you got a point there. But the thing kasi, I'm asking Chris about this is because the West Philippine Sea issue really puts our Chinoy brothers and sisters in a tough situation, in the sense that you had a senator recently suggesting that the Chinoy should make it clear saan yung kanilang allegiance, which I felt is an offensive question. It's like, obviously a loyalty test and all. I think it's just super inappropriate, problematic, and frankly even racist to a certain degree, although I don't believe in race as people colloquially understand. How do you approach that? I mean, and when you talk about China, the reason I have no problem with you of someone Chinoy saying things critical of China is because I was based in Taiwan before. I was there in Hong Kong when the protests were there. These were Chinese people against Communist Party of China, so I have no problem with that. But I think a lot of people are not educated enough to realize that the Chinese civilization, the Chinese people are amazing people of diversity. Multi-billion. Even inside China, if there were freedom, you'll get a lot of different views.
As a matter of fact, I think people mistake kasi and blame the Chinese people for what the Chinese government is doing. It's the government that's an idiot, not the people.
Or the Communist Party specifically. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Under the current leadership, is really trying to expand their empire by
Yeah.
what they do, and they're doing it in a very subtle way. They're doing it with money. They're doing it with force. They're doing it, by it's almost like a blackmail how they do it. And when people, I'm actually curious, sino yung senador na yun? Just for my own sake lang, sino yun? Nagsabi nun?
Yeah, let me double check because I want to make sure. I knew that that was raised, but I want to make sure which senators in particular. But I mean, I can say if you look at the rhetoric of some of the top senators,
Yeah.
they're I mean, people are openly saying things that have very problematic implication.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay if I don't want I don't want you to misquote
Hindi,
anyone.
baka
But anyway,
ma-libel suit tayo. But I'll send you as soon as I get the direct quote. Yeah.
yeah, so for me I find it amusing more than anything na may mga Filipinos diyan na would say to me, Chinese ka, bakit kinakalaban mo sa sarili mong lahi?
Yeah.
They forget ethnicity is not your nationality. That's your ethnicity, but that's not your
Yeah.
nationality.
Exactly.
My nationality is Filipino. And my ethnicity is Filipino Chinese, but my nationality is Filipino. So for people to say that is very ignorant. But again, hindi ako nagagalit sa kanila for saying that. Natatawa na lang ako because I'm just like, oh, do you hear? I think it says more about them than it says about me. Eh.
Yeah.
May iba nga dyan nakakatawa, sabihin na sa akin, bumalik na lang daw ako China. And I'm like, dude, well, okay, wait, I'm against what's happening and you're telling me to go back to China. What the heck's wrong with you? There's no logic with any of the discussions. That's why for me, I don't take offense to it. I do look at myself more Filipino than I do see myself as Chinese. I do have a lot of Chinese traditions,
Yeah.
especially within my family. And I wish I could speak Chinese, to be honest with you, because it's good lang for commerce. But even when I grew up, I moved to Canada kasi at one point.
Yeah.
When people ask me what my nationality is, I would say Filipino, not Chinese. I'm very proud of that. And I actually would, I even joined a Filipino community and a Filipino community and a Filipino Chinese community. So there's two communities there.
Yeah.
And I've never looked at Filipino as different from me. I look at everyone the same, whether you're Filipino American or you're Eurasian or, worse back. I mean, worse back.
Yeah,
Matteo
exactly.
Gudicelli. I mean,
Yeah.
look at all these Philippines, but they're Filipinos. Di ba?
Yeah.
So it's the same.
Yeah,
And
Rachel
that's what I love
Blanco,
about
we
the
can talk
Philippines.
about all these people. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them
Yeah.
artists na. They could easily pass as in Latin America now. No, I mean, the reason I'm asking this, Chris, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean, there are, though, I mean, I know for a fact there are some folks, I mean, I'm not generalizing, but there are some Chinoys who would rather say they're Chinese when they're abroad, or there's some Chinoys na I know for a fact that, they're so proud of China becoming a global superpower, and they always talk about 100 year of humiliation and stuff like that. I mean, we have some Chinoy friends who, are defending what Duterte was doing. I mean, how do you feel about that? Because there were many Chinoys who supported Duterte, and if you ask them, a lot of them, it had to do with the fact that he wanted better relationship with mainland China. Now, obviously, a lot of that also had to do with business because China is a big market. A lot of big Filipino businessmen are involved in China, so probably ayaw lang nila ng gulo. It's not because they're pro-China, but that creates some complicated. I mean, have you had debates with your fellow Chinoys who may have had some different idea on this? Because the reason I'm saying this is I noticed there are like some Chinoy friends whose views on Ukraine war are closer to, let's say, Russia than America, right? Or their views on Gaza and conflict is probably you get what I'm saying, right?
Wow.
Because a lot of people, maybe I know more about your community than yourself, but and then the other thing we're looking at, because I was in Singapore the other week and I was talking to our friends in Washington Post among others, and there's this discussion in Singapore about the Chinese language radio and newspapers in Singapore and all, and how they're increasingly towing the Communist Party of China line, right? And talking about the motherland and the greater Chinese people, this blurring the distinction between Chinese ethnicity and Chinese nationalism and all of those things, right? So that's a concern in Singapore, and Singapore is a Chinese majority country, so they had to make a $100 million Singaporean Chinese cultural center to distinguish themselves from mainland China. I used to be based also in Taiwan, who have a very different conception of themselves, although they see themselves as Chinese, but Taiwanese Chinese, right? So I mean, I don't do you have like have you had debates with some folks who may be a little bit more amenable? Because I mean, the reason I'm saying this, Chris, is because marami rin mga kalokohan ng mga kanod sa Pilipinas. Marami rin silang mali, yung mga Western powers. They did a lot of horrible things not only to China, they did to Philippines. I mean, may mga sinasabi si Digong na hindi naman totally wrong. Yung Balangiga, that really happened. They massacred the whole town. It's not like this, you know, this Western people were like knight in shining armor, really, if you look at the evidence. And you know, Indian people are surprised why are Filipinos so pro-American when how much is US really helping the Philippines? They're giving 70 billion to Ukraine, 20 billion again to Israel. They're giving barely 1 billion to the Philippines over 10 years. Like, you know, you get what I'm saying, right? So it's not like so I understand if some of our Chinoy brothers and sisters, and not to mention not also the rest, right? Who are saying, you know, maybe it's time to be more open to the other rising powers. Na hindi lang puro tayong America, West. I hope you see where I'm coming from. This is not about just the Chinoy community, but that mindset that is gaining traction around the world.
Alam mo, no, sa akin, let's talk, I like to look at things and break it down to the most simple thought. The simplest thought is this. I want you to look at what China is doing. Yun lang. What they're doing is aggressive, it's bullying, it is not friendly at all, and it is taking what they want and, you know, because there's bigger power than us, and that is already wrong. Yun lang. By that action alone, I'd rather go with the United States, who's not doing that. Period. So I'm just talking about now. Not talking about the past.
Right.
I'm talking about now. Yun lang. If you look at it from that perspective, mali ang China, and you'd rather be with the US than with China. Because the US isn't going to say, oy, Filipino, bawal ka dito. You know, put their own ships in front of us and say, you can't fish here. Throw water cannons at us. That's just BS. So, you know, you can say, you know, people have said, oh, but the US has done this in the past. But okay, let's just simplify everything. Today, kung meron akong kapitbahay, yung isa, binibigyan ako ng aid, yung isa naman, sinasabi sa akin, di ako pwede lumabas sa sarili kong bahay, gago yan, binubuli niya ako, I'm not gonna allow that. Diba, yun lang yun eh. That's it.
Yeah.
So people are trying to complicate the issue. To
Mudding the water.
Yeah, yes.
Just to cover for the bullying and all. Exactly. Kuha mo. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the problem with the narrative that China is pushing, and I don't know if did you see this? I saw this on X, on Twitter. Nung after the water cannon incident, my God, I got so many Chinese propaganda posts on X that was it was literally one after the other, saying that the Chinese is protesting what happened and that they have expressed restraint, and the Filipino Coast Guard has trespassed in Chinese waters, and we are protecting the rights of talagang ang grabe at ang galing ng ginawa ng China, spreading all that misinformation on all social media the day that video came out of the water cannon blast.
I mean, of course, Elon Musk has a big Tesla factory in Shanghai, right? Which raises questions about how you know, I mean, this is owned by Elon Musk, right? X, right? So many people, friends in DC and all, are asking serious questions. I mean, is he potentially an influence agent for America, right? I mean,
because I watched our president practically beg and talaga ako dyan that then people would parrot that thought na tama, huwag tayo lumaban, hayaan na lang natin in China kasi gusto mo ba ng gera? That doesn't mean that if you're gonna
how important was that to you, the fact that you have Marcos Jr. right now, but he's not doing too bad, at least on the foreign policy front? I mean, is that a confusing thing to you, or for me it's like common sense lang? And you know, we may disagree on domestic issues, but this is a matter of national interest. Let's support, he's our president after all.
So again, see, this is the thing about me. I have never been one to hate or love somebody based on who they are,
right?
But on what they do and what they represent. So with BBM, I will call out the good, I will also call out the bad. And I know that his interest is pabanguhin yung pangalan ng Marcoses. He is trying to change the legacy of
rehabilitation,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So from education, and my friend said this to me, he owns a school, he noticed, as far back as parang 2001, napansin niya that the books have already been changed, the textbooks have already been changed on how they describe Marcos
Speaking
and
of
the
critical
atrocity,
thinking,
tinitira
yeah.
yung atrocities, lahat yun.
Yeah.
So, Marcos, I've always looked at as somebody who is trying to improve his image and he's close to a lot of the businessmen. So, he listens to the businessmen. Kaya that's why he's creating policies that he believes will bring in more business to the Philippines. Kaya he's pro-America, he's fighting for West Philippine Sea because it looks good on him.
Yeah.
This is all ego, and he does listen to a lot of the people around him because he's enjoying traveling too much. He doesn't want to bother with those details. He says,
Yeah.
ikaw na bahala. Basta, if you believe it's good, I trust you. May ganun siya eh. So,
Right.
that's a good thing about him. So, I think he's actually harmless. And plus, remember, if you come from such a low place, anyone else is
Yeah.
better than where we
I
came
mean,
from.
zero
It
looks
was so
good.
bad.
Zero looks good from -10. It's still 10
Yes,
points up.
exactly.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But hopefully we do better than 0 or 5 out of 10, down the road. I'm not saying BBM is 5 or 0, but I'm just saying, like relative comparisons are good, but hopefully we can. But my point is he still has 4 or 5 years there. Maybe I mean, even if you were to argue that this is about his family interest, if that makes him more amenable to doing the right thing, then let's push him. Let's
Yeah.
encourage him, right? Might as well. I mean, hindi naman siya, diktador.
Who the mastermind is. And it's not Bantag. He's a middleman. That's why Bantag, ang tapang ni Bantag to not, that he's not in jail because there's a bigger fish backing him up that people are still afraid of. Okay? So, what I appreciated about the Marcos administration was they went after and even identified him. To go that far against a
Yeah.
bigger fish says a lot. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
And last for this episode, what do you think about the Uniteam breakup? I mean, it's unlike the celebrity breakups, it's not very formalized, but I think we more or less know what's going on. How do you feel about
So-
it? Is this a tiger versus eagle, no fences in zoo situation, like inevitable, or really, some people miscalculate, including the former president, thinking he's still so powerful and bashing, the administration, not thinking there'll be a response. He's gonna be schooled. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this was a marriage of convenience at the very start. Marcos knew all along that the old man Duterte was against him. Saying all these things about him, that he's a drug addict, that he's a weak president, blah blah blah, and all of those things. Marcos knew that, and he never forgot that. He was just waiting for the right time, and honestly, I think that a lot of the people around Marcos don't like Duterte, and they don't like Sara Duterte, because they see how another Duterte can really destroy our economy. Okay, and honestly, I actually don't even. Maybe I'm ignorant of this, but parang the corruption now is a lot less than what it was during the time of Duterte, and I think that Marcos is not interested in corruption the way Duterte did it.
Well,
for his
does he
own-
even need it? I mean, you mentioned something about billion.
Oh, no. Okay, so it's this. I think it's this. It's not that I don't. Well, at least I'm not seeing it yet. There's nothing's come out yet.
Yeah.
I think he's more interested in spending the money of the government for his travels and lifestyle than he is about just siphoning it off the people. I think he's just more interested.
Sold na siya eh. Sold na siya.
Kasi remember, he already has the billions from his.
Yeah, exactly. Sold na siya eh. Like,
Yeah, he doesn't need it.
Exactly.
Pero he can spend the 10 billion a year on the confidential funds that he has.
Yeah.
And then his travels, it's paid by the government. Why not? He'll stay in first class hotels and everything. I mean, if he can spend that, with the taxpayers' money, he'll do it. Because he doesn't see anything wrong with it because there's a budget for it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it. The people around him, I'm sure there's still corruption in the Department of Agriculture, especially when he allows the cartels to take over and he doesn't appoint an agriculture secretary until now.
Aquaculture.
Yeah, and
What's with this fake diploma industry.
So,
Like,
so ano lang,
oh my goodness.
side note, he's actually my batchmate.
Sa UST?
No,
Xavier. Xavier. Oh, no.
So,
Wait, you look
so
quite young compared to what happened. Like, it's like, dude, you don't look
yeah,
like batchmates, man. He looks like your
he's my
kuya. Like,
batchmate. Yeah.
no
So,
offense, kay Sek, aquaculture, agriculture, sorry.
so
Wait lang,
what
Marites
was
mo
it?
nga. What, like, Nick, Marites nga, sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot. How was he as a classmate? Was he a geeky type, like other Xavier? Was he like math guy, like,
No,
or was he
no.
makulit like you?
Kiko was part of the parang the groups,
The boys.
may mga gangs sila ng time na yon that pag sinabing savior sila yung mga siga ng
Ayun pala
Philippines.
eh.
Uh,
Ayun pala eh.
but I've never had an issue with Kiko.
Yeah.
I know him. I don't know if he remembers me. But he recognizes me. We're friends. We're friends on Facebook. Ako lang. I just don't think it's a good idea to put somebody with a lot of vested interest in agriculture as the agriculture secretary. Yun lang. He's a very, very wealthy and powerful businessman that can really sway his vested interest in his favor by becoming an agriculture secretary. I hope he doesn't. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. But
Nag-divest naman daw siya eh. I mean, nag-divest. I mean, he ticked the boxes naman daw. But you're saying hopefully the conflict of interest doesn't get in the way of him translating his entrepreneurial skills into being a good secretary of agriculture, right? Parang, I mean, that's all. It's too early to say.
I don't want to say much about him at this point.
Ayaw mapahamak. Ma-reunion na kayo soon sa Xavier.
I haven't seen him in a while. But I've seen my batchmates.
Yeah.
We had a Christmas
Maybe
reunion.
you want to see him now. I mean, he's a big guy now.
Well, he's always been like, parang being department head was never a big deal more than being he's a billionaire entrepreneur.
Yeah, and he's like head of the International Tuna Association. I mean, it's pretty big. I mean, I check his profile.
Frabel. Yeah, Frabel
It's a
is
big company.
very big company.
Exactly.
So, but his family's always been wealthy. They've always been in that business.
Right,
So,
right. It's a
I just hope that he does okay. Yun lang. I mean, I will always give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Even Duterte, I gave the benefit of the doubt, by the way. It's just that it was just too much. It was just too much insanity. Yeah, so yun.
Two, in terms of foreign policy, I mean, I'm all okay with diversifying our foreign relations, not just relying on one superpower. I mean, I'm all for that, but execution matters, intent matters, not only good rhetoric of independent foreign policy.
Yeah. So, you know what? When you talk about foreign policy when it comes to China, ang nakita kong ginagawa niya, he was playing ball with everyone. Nothing wrong with that. The problem was he was making deals that were not financially beneficial to the Philippines. Yung inutang niya sa China has 10 times higher interest than what Japan and other countries would lend us, 10 times more. Let's say the interest rate Japan was giving us was like a 0.6%. China was 6%. That's insane.
Well, except Chris, nothing came in. Except Chris. We had smart enough people who didn't allow for those nonsense to come. In fact, I said it's trap, not death trap, because nothing came. Which even China doesn't like.
Oh my God. Like, I watch Pogos, these Chinese mafia people, how they treat Filipinos. Ang dami akong narinig na kwento first hand from people that work in Pogos. May yung isang girl na nagpunta siya sa Pogo. Now, yung boss nila doon, pinapapunta siya sa kwarto, almost raped her. And nung narinig ng gwardiya na kumatok, pinagulpi niya yung gwardiya. And nobody in that building said anything. And these Chinese mafia people, they would hire Filipino mga bodyguards to beat up other Filipinos. What the talagang prostitution, gambling, money laundering,
kidnapping,
drugs, murder, everything because of these pogos. And then people were saying they're bringing in revenue. Hell, their revenue.
They're not paying taxes, man. They're not paying taxes.
May kapalit yan. We're losing a lot of other business because of these pogos. Take them out. We're gonna gain more business.
And the location, right? Yung mga location ng pogos, this could have been investment for startup companies. I don't know, some high tech stuff, etc. Yeah, exactly. Yun
So,
yung masyadong short. Okay, yes,
yeah.
please go ahead, Chris. Yeah, you want to say something? Yeah.
And I want to say also no, that economically, the problem with the Pogos coming in is that it inflated the prices of real estate, that it's now unaffordable for a lot of Filipinos.
Yeah,
These
you're
are,
right.
there's a lot
Especially
of
young
condos out
couples.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody's inside these condos. People are these Chinese people, the Pogos are buying up these properties, or tapos rent is
Money
so high
laundering.
because of them.
Money laundering. I
Yeah,
mean, parking just the money.
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
so
thing.
that's the
Philippines, I think, has
problem.
the second highest real estate cost in Southeast Asia, just after Singapore or something like that. Like
We're
million.
we're we're getting up there. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
it's
getting up
crazy
there
for a
now.
country so poor. A per capita of $4,000, having $1 million properties right and left. Not only in
Yep.
CBD. I mean, everywhere is affected. So it's really crazy. You're absolutely right about that. Chris, this was fantastic. I really enjoyed this discussion. I mean, I look forward to discussing even more things. I think we have to put a day separately for the Bitcoin one, because I don't want to rush and all. I know gusto mag-dinner lahat ng tao ngayon. Ang dadal kasi natin, 1.5 hours, 2 episodes pa lang. Usually that's like 3 episodes if with other people.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, bro, it's 9 p.m. I'm telling you, right? It's 9 p.m.
Oh wow. I didn't
So we
realize
went one
that.
and a half hours just for 2 episodes, so I'm gonna chop it into more episodes, because I think this could be 3 or 4 episodes in itself. But let's come back soon. Hopefully later this month, before the end of the year. Let's have Bitcoin, big discussions about things to look forward to next year, lessons learned. I don't know, some motivational, stoic discussions. No, thank you so much, Kristan. Natutuwa maraming tao sa iyo. Thank you again dun sa mga sumusupport sa atin. Si Ma'am Jocelyn Lumberio, Michael Uy, at isa pang Chinoy na kaibigan natin sumusuporta sa atin, Nonong Raymond, Tera Dag Sawai. Ang dami mga questions dito, maraming mga DDS. In-FU tayong dalawa. I mean, FU both. So, ayan, we're Hall of Fame, man. I'm proud of that. Salamat sa mga ka-DDS natin sa YouTube, also attacking us and all. So, the final version of this, folks, will be out soon. And also look for a version of it on Chris Tan's platforms, because this is a joint effort. So it's just a collaborative, non-proprietary intellectual product. Chris, where can people follow you, just in case may mga followers tayo na who haven't come across your illuminating real talk?
So on YouTube, you can follow me there for a lot longer format thoughts. I am Christian, so it's politics. I really love injecting a lot of societal issues that we're facing in the world and in the Philippines. And also, alam mo, I can help Filipinos talaga become financially secure.
Yeah.
That's really a dream of mine.
Financial literacy. Yeah.
Yeah, financial literacy. And kulang talaga tayo with financial literacy.
You're pulling your Chinoy, your Chinoy card there. Okay, I'll pull my Ilocano card. Right? Like, let's talk about saving money. It's like,
Yeah. So that's important. And yun na nga, like, if they want content that's gonna help them think, provoke thought, and make them better critical thinkers and be more self-aware, follow me on all my channels.
thank you very much, Chris San. So maybe they're stay in the country, pa. There's still reason to stay in the country, because there are many people who are still enjoying this content. I mean, Chris, I'm optimistic that this is just the beginning of an era, right? Of this kind of intellectual discussion. It's our fault. We were too busy. We didn't pay attention enough to, these platforms. But now that we're paying attention to the platform, I can see myself, literally analytics and all is showing you that people want this kind of content. So thank you, Chris, for a fantastic collaboration. Looking forward to joining you maybe every other week or so. Hopefully we can make this something more regular. RC. And then we can bring the other folks in. Yeah, let's mix it up. I mean, for me, this is the Joe Rogan way. Bring the 4 guys in, discuss UFC. I'm a mixed martial arts guy. Maybe we can do a UFC kind of discussion down the road. Thank you very much, amigo. Have a good day. God bless.
Thank you. All right,
Ingat.
bye-bye.
Mabuhay ka. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that discussion. Christian, sorry, hindi namin napag-usapan tuloy yung mga Bitcoin and all. I just felt na ayoko i-rush yan. And of course, medyo dinner time na kailangan natin na kumain bago. Kasi pag masyadong late kumain, tataba tayo lalo. Alright, okay. Anyway, thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much again sa lahat ng mga sumuporta sa atin. Again, kay Reese Annie, Ma'am Eden Lonan, kay Jocelyn Lumber, Terry Dag Sawai, kay Michael Uy, Raymond, lahat kayo. Thank you so much for your kind comments and suggestions. And if you have questions for future discussions with whether it's RNR, whether it's RRL, whether it's RC with Chris Tan, and hopefully, who knows, maybe Christian Esquerra, the other Chris down the road, send forward, give a suggestion, and more than happy to take them in consideration. Thank you very much. God bless, and talk to you soon.